They threw the ball 60 times against the Raiders because they thought that they could beat the Raiders throwing the football and throwing short passes. And you know what? Whatever we think is going to work best, that's what we're going to run. And I don't really think Bobby Slowik did that. I think he wanted to prove that we're going to run this offense, and this is something that we're going to, even if it's successful, we're going to get away from it.
What's done is done, and now you got to get behind this coordinator. If you were anti-Slowik, then get behind Caley as hard as you can and give him a chance. Like, even if it's not as good as you like this year, you got to give him a chance. You know, you got to give D'Amico a chance. You got to give CJ. All these guys still need a chance to keep growing.
But what will be different?
I think what will be different is going to be, I think you're going to see an incorporation. You may see some more zone scheme and counter stuff, you know, power and counter, where you start seeing some pin and pull stuff offensively. You don't see a lot of that from the Texans running. I think from a passing standpoint, you could see some more, you know, possession passing things that don't take as long to develop for CJ in case the offensive line. You may see more screens used, like legitimate screens, not wide receiver. Although wide receiver screens can work as well, but typically defensive linemen are not getting up the field on wide receiver screens. You're throwing it quick, and so they got a chance to rally to the perimeter fast, and linebackers do. And it's a much faster league in the NFL than in college. And so I think we could see better screen game, where if you want to get up the field with a lot of blitz stuff, then that's fine. We're gonna eat you up with screen game. So
I'll tell you,
I don't
know what I got out of it. First of all, Dante Scarnecchia has played a huge role. He was the offensive line coach for the New England Patriots, and Nick Caley said that's what he grew up with. What else he grew up with was, of course, you know, none of these coaches that came from New England worked out because they didn't. They were lacking one thing when they left, Tom Brady. But what Nick Caley got, he said he got from it too, is I am not going to – this is not my system. We're not trying to prove anything. And I think Bobby Slowik might have been doing that, is that, you know what, we're going to run our system. And maybe, you know, if we're running the ball tremendously, that's okay. We're still going to pass. Well, if we're running the ball tremendously, I think under Nick Caley, they're going to continue to run the ball. It doesn't matter if we saw New England – I saw New England one game against the Raiders, and, you know, usually it's a 50-50 split. They threw the ball 60 times against the Raiders because they thought that they could beat the Raiders throwing the football and throwing short passes. And you know what? Whatever we think is going to work best, that's what we're going to run. And I don't really think Bobby Slowik did that. I think he wanted to prove that we're going to run this offense, and this is something that we're going to, even if it's successful, we're going to get away from it. I think we're going to find, if they're running the ball really well, we're going to see a lot of runs. We're going to see, you know, they're going to pound the rock and pound the rock and pound the rock until you can stop it. And then it might open up some of the passing.
You think they'll do that? You don't think they'll be more, I mean.
No, I think absolutely. I think he even said he'd do that.
Yeah.
And he said he's in love with the 13 personnel.
Yeah, the 13 personnel is 3 tight ends, but because 3 tight ends, if you got now you don't have the right tight ends for 3.
You don't have Gronk and Aaron Hernandez though.
No, well, you also need a better player than Brevin Jordan, and you need, frankly, a better blocker than. It needs to be 13 personnel. So the first letter is the running back, the second letter is the tight ends, and then you just the rest of them are wide receivers. So when you hear 11 this is a general, you know, for people who said, yeah, I've heard the term 11 personnel. 1 running back, 1 tight end, obviously 3 wide receivers. There's 5 skill position players. If you hear 12, it's 1 running back, 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers left. 13 is 1 running back, 3. And so sometimes you'll hear 21, 2 running backs. You don't see that as much, but sometimes Gary Kubiak would run 21 or 22, which is really rare. 2 tight ends, running back, fullback. One wide receiver. So anyway, when you have when you have three tight ends, if you've got one that's a really athletic matchup guy, you got all kinds of stuff you can do for that, especially if your two other tight ends are combination tight ends, meaning they can run block, but they're also pretty handy out in space at getting open. Because now you can match up against their personnel. They're going to come heavy personnel. If they see three tight ends, and this is to your point, John, to his point, Nick Caley, when you have three tight ends in the game, what they do is on the sideline, they identify and say, okay, we got to go to a heavier package. They're three tight ends. So you go heavier, and now you got people on the field who may not match up as well with your tight ends. You know, you may have a heavier linebacker package where you start to isolate certain linebackers that you know can't cover. You know, or you get into safeties that you know are not good covering. Or if they try to stay base and they say, oh, we're going to stay with our base package, which is more nickel. Okay, we're going to run at you now, and we're going to beat you up. So it's a mismatch. It's an opportunity to mismatch through personnel groupings, and that's a big thing that with Sean McVay is learning. You know, he always liked having the Higbees and Gerald Everett's. He always liked having those tight ends that were weapons because it makes it harder to or guys who will block like Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. They'll block you. So he likes guys in the slot that will get after your ass because if they run 11 personnel and their slot tight end is a good blocker, you stick a 195-pound cornerback on them and they get that guy blocked, then all of a sudden you're springing runs to the outside. So football is a big game of personnel matchups in this day and age, and I didn't see a lot of that from Bobby Slowik. Now, I also don't think their roster is built yet to mismatch people.